Hi my loves, it's Bibiana here and welcome back to my channel. So I'm really excited to come to you today with a marriage related video. Now I talk a lot in the past about dating and courting with a purpose, but I really felt led to do this kind of video because I get quite a few questions on marriages and it's very clear there's quite a big attack on them right now. So I want to just give a little bit of tips and advice and I guess encouragement for the wives on how we can encourage our husbands. So what does it mean to be an encourager? So encourager is someone who inspires hope and confidence and courage in another person. Men were built with this innate desire to be respected and affirmed. It's even in the Bible that husbands, we should respect our husbands and we should submit to them, but that's a whole nother topic we can discuss later. But why is it important for us wives to encourage our husband? Well, encouraging our husband is going to soften his heart, it's going to draw him closer to us, and it's going to feed his soul. Nothing re-energizes a man more than a little bit of encouragement from his own wife. So I want to start today by just sharing a little bit of my story and why I'm so passionate about being intentional about my marriage, and one of those ways is encouraging my husband. Now I'll go way back. We have 3 kids right now. We've just celebrated our 4-year anniversary, and this marriage is beautiful and I thank God for it every day, but we definitely have our challenges, and daily we are intentional about making this marriage work. No marriage is perfect, irrespective of what you see out there. It takes work to make a marriage be fruitful and happy and everything that you see now. So I want to tell you a little story. I think the twins must have been about 8 weeks old. So we have 2-year-old twins right now and a 1-month-old baby. So the twins were about 8 weeks old, and Sam had gone, my husband had gone back to work. He finished paternity leave, so I'd had the twins for a while, and it wasn't easy. It isn't easy at all, to be honest. Any mums of twins will know the struggle. Even mamas in general know it's tough with babies. And they'd been fussing all day, and I had a really tired day, and I was used to kind of Sam coming home and just being there. He's a really happy guy, so just to come home and take the kids off my hands and tell me how amazing I'd been, and we talk and everything. And then this time he came home and he just slammed the door, threw his bag on the floor, and just went upstairs. And I remember I'd made the house smell nice and stuff, and he kind of just what's that smell? And he just was fussing and went upstairs. And I was upset. No, I was pretty mad, to be honest, because I cooked. The house was clean. The kids were, I'd done everything, and I can understand why he was so mad. But I ended up internalizing it and being really upset with him. And you start going through this role play in your head. I was like, I don't care what kind of day he's had. It can't compare to mine, what I've been through. And I was even thinking, just crazy things like I want to throw away his food. And I was just, to be honest, getting really, really upset. And it may, with hindsight, I know it's completely irrational, but at the time, especially when you've had those really tough days with the kids, all you want is for someone to say, well done. And I didn't get that day, and that's what I've been used to for so long. So just when I was in the midst of my own, cray getting mad and everything, I just heard this voice, Holy Spirit, just say, go upstairs and see how he's doing. And I'm like, what? See how he's doing? Does he know what I've been through all day? Does he know what it's like being home with twins, with 8-week-old twins who don't want to sleep and exclusively nursing them and all that stuff? And no, he doesn't know what it's like. What do you mean, see how he's doing? Even if I saw how he's doing, how bad can his day be? You just keep on, I was arguing with God pretty much, saying I didn't want to do it. And I heard it again. And when I say it took all of me to go upstairs and then be calm and actually say those words out of my mouth. But as soon as I got upstairs, I looked at him, and he just had a little slump in his shoulder. He didn't look his usual self. And I just said to him, babe, are you okay? What's going on? How's your day been? What's wrong? And he just unloaded to me. He pretty much just told me all the stuff he'd been going through, and that's the first time he'd really vented to me. And I don't even remember what I said that day, but I remember I just sat with him, we talked, and I gave him the biggest hug, and I didn't even think anything of it. But that night when we finished dinner and we went to bed, I remember he just turned to me just saying, thank you so much for listening to me and for talking to me today. And the whole time I was thinking, oh my gosh, what trouble my big mouth could have caused if I just walked by my own flesh and walked based on my own feelings and said some of the cray things I really wanted to say to him that day. What can of worms I could have opened. You know, we would end up in one massive unnecessary fight, and all I had to do was just spend a few minutes to listen to him and see how he was. And you know, and that all comes from, you know, being attentive and listening to God as well. So I tell this story because Proverbs talks about a wise woman builds her home, but a foolish one tears it down. And you have to be careful. It's very easy for you to work so hard to build this marriage up and just tear it down with our mouths. So we really have to be careful with what we say. And so like I said, this video focuses more on tips on how to be encouraging wife. But I told you that story because from that moment I kind of realized something. I realized something that, you know, the devil is really after marriages. I think it's Peter which talks about we have to be sober-minded and watchful because the enemy prowls around like a lion looking for someone to devour. You know, this home that you've worked so hard to build up, you have to remember that there's someone out there, there's an enemy out there who's looking for any opportunity to just tear down everything you've built up, and especially marriages. And we as wives cannot afford to give him a foothold in our marriages. So we have to be intentional about making it work. And one of the ways about being intentional about a marriage is to be encouragers to our husbands. So I hope, you know, that story I just want to share with you because that's one that just really opened up my eyes to being a lot more intentional about our marriage. And so I hope these, then we're going to do about 7 tips help you guys. So I'm going to discuss some tips on how we as wives can encourage our husbands. So number 1 tip is prayer. I believe prayer is fundamental. It is key to a successful marriage. You know, marriage is a threefold cord with Christ at the center. So you have to make sure that Christ is the first and the most important person in your marriage. Now it's kind of funny because as women we remember those nights we prayed, fasted, whatever we did just to, you know, in anticipation for that man, and now we got the ring and everything. We stopped praying. In fact, we just started complaining. One thing I always tell people is I prayed for my husband and I'm still praying now. So we have to remember, you know, if we're praying or we're trying to fuss and trying to change this man and complain about him, remember you can't change a man, only Christ can. I love this saying, the only time you can actually change a man is when he's in diapers. So instead of complaining and fussing, one thing one could do is maybe go to your husband and ask him, you know, babe, is there anything you want me to pray about in particular? And you know, I think there's something so beautiful, especially for a man to know that it's his wife who's standing in agreement with him in prayer over something. You know, I want to be a prayer warrior for my husband and for my family. And one of those key things is that you spend time in prayer individually. So quiet time is so important, and collectively as a family and with your husband particularly. Alright, so my second tip is why not write him a little note or a poem and a cute text message. You know, all that cute stuff you used to do when you were dating. Or even if he's at work all day like mine, you could send him a little message during the day just to ask him how his day is going, tell him that you miss him. With me, with the kids all day, sometimes I just send him a cute picture of what we've been up to, or if you can make his lunch in the morning, you can put a little note there, or encouraging Bible verse, and it'll be so exciting for him to open it when he gets to work, just to, you know, encourage him during the day. And you know, you can even get creative. Why not say, you know, I can't wait for you to get home, I'm going to put the kids to bed tonight, make your favorite meal, and you know, we can have a little fun. You know, get creative. You guys are married after all. And this is not about sending him a list of groceries like, oh, we need onions today, can you pick up milk? Yes, I know you need to send those messages every now and then, but I'm talking about, you know, regularly, daily, just letting him know that you are thinking about him. Now, just ask yourself, is your home somewhere your husband enjoys coming to at night? You know, men already have enough pressures to deal with at work. Why not make coming home the highlight of his day? Alright, the third tip is to watch our tongue. Now, I mentioned before, if I'd really said what was on my mind that day, I would have torn my husband down rather than building him up. A lot of times we have to take responsibility for what we say as well, and not make excuses like, oh, I was hormonal that day. You know, I was pregnant recently, and being heavily pregnant in summer and having toddlers to take care of, most people say, oh, you have any excuse to let your hormones rule you and say whatever you want. But no, I had to control my own emotions, so I didn't say something silly I would regret later. And that's why I love the book of Proverbs, because it talks about that quarrelsome, nagging wife, which we do not want to be, because it says it's as annoying as a constant trip, or it's better for a man to live alone in a deserted island than with a nagging, complaining woman. So you really don't want to be that woman. And the thing is, men don't usually like confrontation. It will just cause your husband to withdraw. And then women are like, my husband's silent, and that's because he can't really communicate well with someone who's constantly nagging him. So then you're just going to end up in a situation where you're not really solving the problem. And one thing I like to do is imagine if somebody else, another woman, said all those nagging, complaining, negative things to my husband, how I would feel. Alright, so the next one is to be playful. You know, you and your husband are meant to be best friends. So most of your conversations revolve around work and bills and finances. That's just like a recipe for disaster. And I know that can be tough, especially maybe if you work together, but it's really important to make sure that you have fun in your relationship and do things which don't involve those stressful tasks. So you can maybe go for a bike ride, have some creative date night ideas, or just go for a little last minute getaway, nothing too expensive, or you can even do a staycation where you just have fun together and enjoy each other. You know, you could even send him some cute little message like, can't wait for you to get home, I'm going to put the kids to bed tonight and we'll have a little fun. You know, you are married, so why not get back to being creative and fun again. Right, the next point is to be your husband's biggest cheerleader, both publicly and privately. Now, it's the way you speak about him to others show that you respect him, or you constantly criticize and complaining about him. If you're unsure about the answer, ask yourself this: if someone was to describe your husband based purely on the way you speak about him, what would they say? You know, always remember that listening ear is always a running mouth. And how sweet would it be if that running mouth reported something amazing, some amazing report about your husband? You have to remember, this is so much bigger than the two of you. We have to be careful not to ruin our witnesses as husband and wife. You know, so how powerful is the witness of a couple who speak highly of one another? And it's not only important to speak, you know, encouraging words about your husband both publicly but also privately. Does the way you speak to him show that love that Paul talks about in Corinthians, you know, that we all like on the wedding day? Love is patient, love is kind, love doesn't rejoice in wrongdoing. Or you constantly saying, I told you so, I told you this won't work. You know, whether he comes to you with that big vision or business venture in success or in failure, knowing that you are cheering him on from the sidelines is just so encouraging for any husband. Next thing is, don't forget to appreciate his strengths. It's very easy for us as women and as wives to find little things that we find annoying about our husbands and just point them out, especially when you think, oh, he just doesn't think the way I think. Why didn't he wash up? Why did he leave the toilet seat up? Why is the laundry not put inside the laundry basket or something like that? But the thing is, we have to learn to even find the smallest thing to just show you're grateful for and just appreciating him, and tell him that you appreciate it. Maybe he puts the kids to bed, maybe he's hungry for the word, maybe he does help you out with the dishes, maybe he makes you laugh, and just remember to keep on telling him that those things you find amazing about him. You know, the truth is, inside most men is a king and a fool, and you keep on criticizing and nagging and complaining about him, then you're just going to feed the foolish side, and that's what you're going to get. But if you encourage the king in him, then that is what you're going to start seeing developing. My final point is, remember to listen to your husband. It's very easy for us as wives to complain saying, oh, my husband doesn't listen to me and to my needs. Or a lot of women complain saying, oh, he comes home late from work, or he seems distant. And sometimes we have to ask ourselves this question: would a husband really want to come home to a nagging, critical wife? Like I said, a lot of men just don't like that kind of confrontation. Or maybe it's because you're constantly trying to keep up with the Joneses. You know, you're complaining to him saying, why does our house not look like this? We don't have a car like them. We don't go on holidays like so and so. And now he's constantly trying to work hard to keep up with your expectations, which sometimes can be very superficial, but constantly keeping him working hard, and then, you know, he's not able to come home on time. You know, the thing is, everybody has a breaking point. That's why it's so important to listen to, you know, your husband. And he's either going to unload his feelings to an encouraging wife, or to someone else who is willing to listen and provide that source of encouragement he should be getting from home. You know, wives, let's not give the enemy that open door. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this video gave you some ideas on how to encourage your husband and ultimately build happier, stronger marriages. And I'd love to hear any ideas you have on how to encourage your own spouse, so list them down below. I'm sure other people can learn from that as well. So thanks again for watching. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I shall see you in my next video. Bye my loves.